Hey guys, Turn here. I thought that it might be useful to put together a short video tutorial on how to record your sorties in Cliffs of Dover. Um, I'm not talking about making videos, which is a whole much more involved process. I'm just talking about the built-in flight recorder of the game itself. For those of you that haven't used that before, maybe a quick 2-minute introduction might help. And as you can see in the sections list here, this will help you fast forward to whatever sections you are most interested in, if some of this is just old news for you. All right, so let me just dive into it here. It's really just 2 extra clicks. We're at the client briefing screen here, and all you do is click Start Recording, fly your sortie, and then when you're done, you land, escape out of the cockpit back to the menu, and click Stop Recording. And that's it. So I'll just show you how you do that now. It's usually better to just kind of pick your plane first before you start the recording, because as soon as you do, it will try to record even when you're still in the menu screens. So when you play back your track, you'll see some weird artifact kind of on the screen if you click start recording and then sort of mess around in the menus for a long time before you actually jump into the plane. So just FYI on that. Right, so say we want to pick an airfield here. We'll pick our plane. You can do your loadout or everything else that you would normally be doing. The last step then, instead of clicking create to spawn into the airfield, instead we'll just do one extra step here. We'll click on start recording. And I like to generally organize my my tracks for the evening into separate folders. So I will give that, let's say it's this folder here, and it's whatever you want to call it, bomber flight 2 of 1,000 that evening. So we'll give it a file name and then just click create to spawn in. All right, so here we are in the cockpit. We've started our track recorder, and you would just fly normally, fly the sortie. Nothing's different. Everything that you're doing in the game is captured in the track file. So everything about your plane, but also other planes in the area as well, will get recorded in your track. It's kind of like a black box flight recorder for the whole area around your aircraft. I don't know what that radius is, but for a certain radius within your plane, all friendly planes, enemy planes, ground targets, ships or armor, everything is all its movements and activity is captured within this track that you're recording. Okay, so I'll kind of just fast forward, pretend that we've finished our sortie, we've gone off, we've bombed a whole bunch of airfields, we've come back, we've landed, and then you would escape back out of the plane, which I'll show you now how to stop the recording. All right, so here we are back at the main menu, and as you can see, we have a stop recording button here. Go ahead and click that, and then just say yes, you don't want to stop, you want to stop recording, and that's it. Your track file has been saved. That's it. So typically if I'm flying for the evening and I want to record lots of stuff, I'll just do that for every sortie. I'll have each one in its own track file. You can click start recording at the beginning of the evening and just fly your sorties, dozens of them for the day, and just click stop recording at the end. Everything will be all in one track file. You can't do that. I wouldn't recommend it though. It's just way too hard because there's no rewind function in the track player. So it's a real pain to do it that way. So recommend that you click start and stop at the end of each flight and bookend what you're doing in the menus that way. It just makes it a lot easier. Okay, so let me just quickly jump now to show you how you actually play back a track if you're curious on how to do that. You can't do it in the multiplayer section of the game here. You need to do that back in the main menu of Cliffs It Over. So typically I wouldn't play anything back till at the end of the evening when I'm finished flying, or even the next day. But to just show you how to do that now, we'll escape out of this multiplayer section back to the main menu, way back to the beginning here. And then from this screen you would choose Extras, and then Tracks, and then click Select. So you just browse to where you had saved that track before. Rather than the one I just recorded now, I'm going to pick one that's got a little bit more interesting stuff in it at least. Just open up the track file, let it load like this, and then I'll show you the track player interface here, which it displays once the file is loaded up. I ignore everything in the grab and AVI sections. I never use those. On the far right you see those 4 check boxes. The top 2 I always select. Edit time allows you to fast forward through parts of the track that you don't care to watch in real time. Edit views lets you switch to the external view, as well as switch to the views of other planes around you and objects, ground objects as well. Hide icons. If you're creating a finished video, that will hide the plane type and pilot name icons from hovering above their planes, which you typically would want. If you're just playing back the track for fun, however, it's nice to leave that checkbox clear so you can actually see the pilots' names above all the planes, which you normally, of course, can't see when you're flying around the full real arena. The bottom Hide Interface checkbox will hide all of the information windows from appearing on your screen. So your engine management window, the chat box, etc. You can hide all those. Again, handy if you're creating a finished video. So I usually just check those 3 if I'm just playing back a track for fun. You click on play and give it a second to load up. And this is what you'll see when the track first starts playing. You'll see this weird silver shimmering ground and the blue sky there. That's totally normal. You need to turn on internal views first. So whatever hotkey you have assigned to show internal view, your cockpit view, is what you need to press. I'll press that now, and you'll see it'll render in your cockpit there and show the environment normally. Okay, so external view, and back to internal view. The head movements you're seeing now are actually me moving around just with my track IR. So as you would while you're normally flying, you can look around inside the interior or exterior independent of where your eyes actually were in the game while you were recording. Okay, so again, external view. Another feature is you can cycle to the nearest friendly aircraft, which I'll do now. So I'm cycling. There's a Wind Digger, and there's back Red Hawk just taking off up East Church. And again, back to myself. We were just feet wet there, just a little ways from Deal. There's Wind Digger looking back at my plane, back to Red Hawk again. So as I mentioned earlier, when you record a track, it records not just your aircraft, but every friendly and enemy aircraft around your plane at the time. I don't know what the radius is. There's a particular radius beyond which it doesn't capture. It includes not just aircraft, by the way, but also ground targets. So you can cycle to enemy and friendly ground targets, ships, armor, etc. Really useful when you're playing back your sortie. You can kind of, just for fun, if nothing else. But also if you're curious as to what went right or what went wrong, you can analyze it a little bit and look at the ship while you're coming in to bomb it. Or you want to figure out, how the heck you missed that radar dish. You can cycle to that ground target ahead of time and see where your bomb actually landed. Really useful stuff. Okay, so I won't get into a whole lot of detail. I just wanted to show you and demonstrate you can show the external view, internal view, and cycle between different planes. Another really quick thing is neat. You can switch your field of view. So just as you would while you're flying a fighter or bomber, whatever keys you have on your joystick or keyboard or whatever mapped work also for the track playback here. You can also pause. So you can pause the action at any time, spin around, and zoom out here. You can zoom way out, by the way. I think mine is set to something like 50 kilometers or something crazy like that. Way, way out. You can see the whole map, look around. Right, zoom back in again. Doing that now. Back into the plane, which you can't even see from way out there. Right, so with the action paused, you can switch between different planes to see kind of what's going on at the time before you unpause the action and keep it playing. That's handy because there's no rewind, like I said before, which is sort of a little bit of a pain. That's a workaround, though, is to just pause it, cycle around to see the maybe action you're interested in coming up, and then resume the playback. Also, there's a fast forward, so there's no rewind, but there is a fast forward at least, which is great. Okay, so if I resume playback here, there's a hotkey. I'm not sure if it's the default, if it's hard coded in or if it's a hotkey, but mine's the square arrow, or sorry, the square brackets for speed up and slow down. You can also go slow motion. So if I speed up right now, we lose the sound, but now we're like 8 times normal speed here. Or we can slow down back to normal speed and then do slow motion, 1/16 of real time. You can slow it way down. See the prop spinning, and then back to real time. So you've got that functionality as well. One other thing I wanted to mention is these external views you're seeing right now are not enabled by default in the track that you've recorded. Because we're flying in a full real arena, external views are disabled, not just for while we're flying, but even in the track we record as well. I'll show you later how you enable external views to be able to see what you're seeing here. There's a special tool that you need to use if you want to do that. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll be limited to just this internal cockpit view only of just your own plane. You won't be able to view your external nor cycle to the external views of other planes around you. So I'll just show you that now. I'll escape out of this back to the main menu again. All right, so let me just explain for you how you can enable external views for the tracks you've recorded. You need to do that through the ATAG forum itself. You can't do that within the Cliffs of Dover game. So if I just switch out of Cliffs of Dover here back to my browser temporarily, and I'm sure you've all seen this before, this toolbar across the top is where the tool will appear. And you see it here. It's called Track Editor. That is not normally visible until you are given access to the tool. The way you get access is there's a forum here in the Team Fusion section. I'll just scroll down to. It's called Team Fusion Public Discussion in that section. At the very top, you'll see there's a forum category called Utilities and Tools. You just click on that. And there's a sticky at the top from which ATAG Snapper, the administrator, one of the admins of this forum, monitors. It's called External View Utility for Recorded Tracks. If you just go into that thread and then just post a new message asking ATAG Snapper for permission to the track editor, and that's it. He monitors that thread, as I mentioned, and he will reply to that thread and after he adds you to a particular required group. So let me just back out of that. And as I showed you before, this is what it'll look like once you've been given access to that group. If you have a track you want to enable, you just click on Track Editor and then click on the Browse button to find your track file that you had previously recorded. So, let's say this is where I keep all my tracks. Go down to the track and you open it up and then just click on Process Track. It can take a minute or two if it's a longer sortie. Larger files take longer for the tool to process. Smaller ones will be done in just a matter of a couple seconds. When it's finished, the wheel you see at the top left here is kind of spinning to let you know it's working. And when it's done, you'll see this screen here. It says track ready for download with a download link. That's a temporary link. It expires if you don't download it. So it'll just delete it off the server. So you just go ahead and click on download and save it somewhere. And that is your exact same track that you had recorded. The only difference is external views are now enabled for you. So it's great. I think Colander actually wrote that, as he seems to have given us a lot of stuff here for to the community for us to use. You'll notice though that the file name is really very cryptic here. So just make a note of that. You'll want to rename that probably to something a little more meaningful to you later. So you just give it, save it somewhere, and that's it. That's how you enable your external views. All right, the last thing I said I'd show you is some of the hotkeys you can map for that make it easier to view your tracks. I'll just show you where you can set those up now. Again, this is just for playing back your tracks if you want to be able to cycle to the different planes and targets and stuff. So from the main menu in Cliff-Sadover, you'd go into that Options Controls section, and then you go into the View category. In the View category, if I scroll up to the top here, there's three main ones that you probably want to map just to get you started, and those are Inside View, External View, and Cycle Friendly Aircraft. So showing you those here now. Inside View I have set to Alt F1. Obviously don't match, you don't have to use the keys I use, just use whatever works best for you. And then the second one is External View. That allows you to see the outside of your plane. Alt F2 is what I have mine at. And the third one is for cycle friendly aircraft, to view other friendly planes around you. So I have mine, as you see here, set to Alt F5. So those three will get you started. Internal view shows your cockpit view inside your own plane. That's your own plane only, by the way. You can't view the internal views of other planes, only your own. The second one is external view. That's the external view of your plane. And then cycle friendly aircraft to switch to other planes around you. That's to get you started. Other fun ones are, let's see here, external flyby at the top. I have mine set to Alt F3. That gives you that view with the plane, you've seen it before, zooming towards you and then zooming away from you. You see that in a lot of videos. And then obviously cycling to enemy targets is useful too if you ever want to, as I mentioned before, kind of pause the action, cycle to a ground target that you might be taking your bomber in towards to get a view of the target as you approach it and check out where your bomb actually landed. You can map a key for cycle enemy targets. You can see mine's, I have it set to T. Vehicles, V, aircraft, ships, etc. You get the idea. You can just go through that and map whatever you think might be useful, and you can save that profile. All right, so I'll wrap it up there. That ended up being a little bit longer than I thought it would be, but I hope there was, I really hope there was useful information in there for any of you that haven't seen some of this stuff before. That's it. I'll wrap it up, and we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks, guys. Bye.